Welcome to today's edition of Mental Health Matters. Today, we're going to be talking about the word stigma. I have Richard Gallo on the show, who is a strong mental health advocate, and he's going to share his experience surrounding stigma and how he advocates for mental health rights. Get you something to drink and get you a snack and come on back. Good morning, Richard. How are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm hanging there. At least it's raining outside.
Yeah, I know when I talked to you last, I know you said you worked last night.
I did.
Yeah. Okay. Was it like an overnight or something?
Yes, I have the overnight shift. I'm a night counselor at a step down program for those who are coming from 5150 unit.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that.
Yes, and I used
That's
to work here about 20 years ago from a
oh,
different employer at that time.
oh, nice. So you get a chance to utilize your peer experience when they come in. Tell me a little bit more about that. Is that somewhat what you do?
Yes, I basically provide, mutual peer support to the individuals and work on their treatment goals, whatever their treatment goals are that they're working on, including substance abuse as well. So it just matters providing support, providing the resources, connections of programs and services to help with the recovery and maintaining the recovery.
That's awesome. You know what's interesting about this? On Friday, I just did a training on peer support. It served more as a like a refresher because some of the people that was in the
Yes.
training, they are peers and they have been in the field for a while. Others only
Yes.
been in the field like for a month. So I felt the need to do a training. And I got a lot of positive feedback, Richard,
Good.
after the training. Um, as a matter of fact, the ones that has the least experience working in the field, they did express their gratitude for the training because when they started working, they just, kind of like they got some training, but they just jumped in. But
Right.
then they, things I brought up in the training and a lot of role playing and brainstorming, they communicated with me that really helped them in that moment. It will help them, with their role as a peer support worker. So it was really good, really, really good. And we
Good.
watched videos, we did role playing. Just it was just a lot of good information. So yeah.
Good. And for those that are new into the field, working in this field, it's always important to take mental health first aid
Yes.
because they provide valuable tools how to work with the mental health community. And
Yes.
it's extremely helpful and valuable.
Yes, exactly. I know one of the things that um, the one individual talked about was at first they had hesitation about getting to this field because of their mental health diagnoses, and they felt like they didn't really want the public to know, that they had a mental diagnosis. But this
Yeah.
individual said that they talked it over with a loved one, and the loved one pretty much painted a picture for this individual as to how their lived experience can really affect someone else's life in a positive way.
Oh,
And
totally
yeah,
agree with you, Jesse. The thing is, in the workplace, it's a personal matter.
yeah,
Want to be identified and have their coworkers be, acknowledge that he or she is an individual with a mental health challenge. So it's a personal choice. The other
Yeah.
thing is they need to be aware that they're protected under the
Yes.
American with Disabilities Act,
Yes.
and they're
Yes.
maintaining their employment, because I have a lot in the peer support field where they can't work full time, but they can only work part time because of their mental illness. And that's totally understandable, totally okay.
Yes. Exactly. Well, part of the reason why this individual want to do it was because of stigma, and that's going to lead us right to we talking about. The word stigma means it's a mark of disgrace associated with a particular circumstance, quality, or person. Um, the word stigma can also be closely associated with discrimination as well.
Yes,
You
totally.
know, and so let's talk a little bit about that. Like what does the word stigma mean to you in your personal journey with being an advocate, with being a peer worker, and
Yeah.
with being a peer?
Yeah. As a person with lived experience and working in this field for over 25 years, with 7.5 of those years in the 5150 unit, is it's the lack of understanding of individuals with mental health challenges. Each individual that have their own diagnosis has its own characteristics
Mm-hmm.
relating to their mental health challenges.
Mm-hmm.
It's also ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
It also could be a taboo issue when it comes to culture.
Yes.
Like in my culture with my family, oh no, you don't have that. You're not
Mm-hmm.
crazy. It's in your
Mm-hmm.
head.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing.
Yes, exactly. And it's so unfortunate that like the individual I'm telling you about, they were so caught up into more focused on the stigma opposed to moving forth and not realizing that their lived experience have so much positive weight. Like it could
Yes.
do so, I mean, it could do wonders for people. I know one of the things that I had some feedback, after I did the training and stuff like that. I did a little survey, and one of the things that stood out to me when she kind of made some comments at the end, but one of the things that stood out to me was she was saying that I was teaching them that you don't necessarily need a degree in order to
Mhm.
work in this field. Your lived experience holds a lot of weight and power with being a peer worker, and that really
Yes.
stood out to her because she was saying that before she got into this field, another thing she felt like she had to get a degree, and like her lived experience wasn't going to be enough, and all of that. So it's just that stigma surrounding what the qualifications are, when in actuality the qualifications is enough, meaning your lived experience.
Right, right. And for the person, the key things to challenge through stigma is about your self-awareness
Mm-hmm.
and make it through the stigma. That's the key thing in dealing with those challenges, those discrimination, those prejudgments
Yes.
from the community, from yourself, institutions that you work at, whether it's a government agency, workplace, mall, wherever you're at. So
Yeah. Yeah. And you said some earlier something to the fact that each diagnosis have its own individual characteristics, which
yes,
is so true, which is so true. Like, and I both know working in this field,
yeah,
we've seen people who may have you know, I'm just going to classify it as not as good of a day, who's living well
right,
in their recovery, whatever that means,
right,
to them. But then you have those days where, people may not be doing as well. But the
right.
interesting thing to me, Richard, is being in this field, I've noticed that when people are not doing well, and it may just be, they just be for that day, I
Mhm.
noticed that it's sort of somewhat like highlighted. you know. But the way I look at what I try to teach people about the whole thing is even for folks who are not diagnosed with mental health or who doesn't have any lived experience, we
Hmm.
all have good and bad days. We
Yes.
all do. If somebody lose a loved one, they're
Oh,
going to
totally.
they're going to
Yeah.
most likely be depressed and have these emotions going on and can't come to work and need their alone time, or if a person lose their job, like, but I've always tried to teach from that perspective, because just because somebody is does have lived experience, and if you see them have a bad day, to me that's no different, because it's
Mhm.
just the nature of being human with emotions.
Right, right. And the other part of the problem with stigma is the media, the news media.
Oh yes.
How they just promote mental illness is an issue with guns.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yes.
know, it just
Yeah.
promotes the wrong way to our communities with that
Yeah.
fear tactic.
Yes. Exactly. You jumped ahead, but I was going to talk about a few more types of stigma. Another type of stigma is called public stigma, and I'm just
Hmm.
reading the definition I wrote down. And that's when the public or a large part of society perceive a group of people, as being like unwell or not normal.
Hmm.
Folks may see people with mental illness as dangerous, violent, weak, or unpredictable.
Yes,
And
yes. You know, and that's an incident that happened with me in San Francisco on the bus, transit bus, where a homeless individual, very obvious, he's an individual with mental health challenge, got on the bus, sat in the back, and everyone that was sitting in that back row literally moved to the front of the bus. I stayed
yeah,
because I wasn't afraid of him, and I recognized that he was going through his own challenges, you know, but he is who he is. You
right,
can't let that behavior scare you because it's
right,
associated with him, with his illness that he's going through.
right.
I just sat
Exactly.
there and watched him while he was doing his thing, self-stimulation behavior, self-talking,
Uh-huh.
and nobody sat in the back but me and this gentleman that got on the bus.
You know what,
That's a
Richard?
good example.
I love the fact that you did that, because of what you actually did through your actions. You were educating these people who obviously, in my opinion, had a lack of education.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had something similar like that happen. I'm not gonna name the grocery store, but one of a grocery store not too far from my house. Whenever I would go there, and it was on a Sunday too, as a matter of fact, it would be a homeless individual there talking to himself,
Mm-hmm.
but he'll be asking people for money and whatever.
Right.
And so I ended up when I went in there, I had bought like some chips. I had bought like a little portable salad and a banana and so the lady that was in front of me was talking to the cashier. And yeah, lady in front of me was talking to the cashier. And so the lady and the cashier was really, really, really talking bad about this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna be honest with you, I got, when I say inwardly, and this sounds God truth, inwardly, I got so angry. I went from 0 to 10 inwardly, right? Now I'm listening at them talking. Now, that now the cashier, she's running her mouth. She's not really bringing her up because she's so immersed in this
Mm-hmm.
conversation, talking about
Mm-hmm.
the homeless guy. And so I just said, well, I said, pretty much, I said, hey, I gotta go. I'm like, pretty much trying to get along. And she said, oh, the cashier said, oh, I'm sorry about that. She was like, yeah, I know you heard us talk about the guy out there. It's kind of creepy. And he talked to himself, blah, 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 blah. And she was like, he's homeless. And I asked, I said, well, why do you feel like that? Because I want to know. And she was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh yeah, well, all of us was dealt with a hand, just like I'm here at work. I made a choice to get up and come to work, and he could have made the same choice. Blah, blah. But I said, you don't know what hand life has dealt him. I said, you see
Right.
him out there asking for money and talking and different things like that. So she cut me out. She said, well, he needs to go and get himself help. I said, well, what if he can't get no help? I said, what
Right.
if you, me, and this lady right here are supposed to be his help? What?
Mhm.
And she could not understand.
Yeah.
And
And,
so, huh?
mhm.
So
Yeah.
listen, I
Go
made the
ahead.
choice. I made the choice, and I did this deliberately. I made the choice to sit there and educate both of them. They didn't want to hear it. I could tell by the
Mhm.
energy, but I really wanted because I said, well, what if this was your son? What if that was your
Right.
grandson? What if that was your brother? Will you have the same outlook? Will you have the same
No.
feelings? Exactly. No, and that's what I said. No, you
Mhm.
will not. I
Mhm.
mean, but I was so, I mean, when I say I was frustrated to the max. Yeah,
Yeah. This is the problem with stigma with individuals like her, that they don't realize that it affects them
right.
the way they are treated. So it causes lower self-esteem. It reduces their hope.
Hmm.
It creates treatment issues where they don't want to get treatment, and it causes difficult with social relationships
Right.
because of that negative stigma. And then for those that do work or able to work, cause them to be having difficulty maintaining at work
Yeah.
because of that stigma they're constantly faced with from
Yeah.
individuals like her.
Yeah. I definitely agree. I mean, in the midst of the conversation, Richard, I did. I'm telling you, when I said I wasn't like aggressive, but they definitely knew they can see my disdain for what they were saying. And I even told them, I said, yeah, and I said, yeah, I'm buying this, these 4 food items for him. And the lady that was in the line in front of me, she was like, well, why would you waste your money? And I was just thinking like, wow, like the lack of compassion and empathy for a
Yeah.
person's situation and being a human, well, it's beyond me. Do you know she made the comment and said that she would rather spend her money on her dog? This is what she said to me. And so after a while, I kind of was just like, you know what? I made my point and I'm gonna leave because clearly you guys are not trying to hear the conversation. That's a lot of us, meaning human beings, people in society. We
Yeah.
judge people, we look at people, and
Hmm.
we tend to automatically throw our own um train of thought
Hmm.
in a situation instead of thinking like, okay, this person may need some help. Offer this person some resources. He ain't harming nobody. He's not hurting nobody. He just sitting out there talking to himself and asking for money. Not
Right.
violent, not doing none of that. So
Right.
I got a little passionate about that, but your story just kind of reminded me of what happened. So, in your opinion, Richard, what can we do as a society, because you've kind of already did it, but what can we do as a society through our words and through our actions to educate people like that?
I think it has to do with educating the community,
Hmm.
educating in the workplace,
Yeah.
educating in our schools, whether it's elementary, junior high, high school, and college campuses.
Yes.
So, those of us that work with the community, those of us that are in recovery, like myself, is educating the community. You
Yeah.
know, that's the key, and hopefully that they learn to practice and
Yeah.
reduce their stigma,
Yes.
reduce their ignorance,
Hmm.
reduce their misinformation that they're trusting.
Yes. 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 That type of behavior causes what I kind of wrote down is um, self stigma. And self stigma, it occurs when individuals internalize the beliefs and opinions of their dominant culture.
Hmm.
I don't even think sometimes people realize that they could fall into this particular category self stigma themselves. I know, um, I'll just say for myself, as being minority, meaning being a Black man here in society, I I realized back then, even when I was doing this research, I was realizing back then, I think I still somewhat had this mindset. Like
Mm-hmm.
when I'm at work, I feel like I had to work even harder because I'm a Black person, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and that is definitely a form of self stigma. I know I've talked
Mm-hmm.
to other African Americans or other minorities who also feel the same way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the more you think about it and look at it, and I was like, okay, why do I feel like that? And I think a lot of it too, it is because society, the dominant culture, but also it's because in the workspace,
Mm-hmm.
I've seen other races, white folks, I'm just gonna be real, who are able to get away with things I know I would never be able to get away with. I know that for a fact.
Right. Right.
Um, some of their lack of effort, um,
Mm-hmm.
lack of, you know, what am I looking for? Their lack of motivation to do their job, to go above and beyond. It'd be so obvious and so apparent
Yeah.
that they
And,
did.
and, and, and that's so common within law enforcement because
Yes.
of their lack of training
Mm-hmm.
in regards to mental health
Yes. Yes.
individuals. So they're clueless unless they have a family member or a loved one.
Yes.
Those law enforcement officers will be more patient, more
Yes.
compassionate, and more
Yes.
understanding compared to the vast majority of law enforcement. Black and brown, you and I are a higher risk of being
Yeah.
shot by law enforcement
Yes. Absolutely.
because of their
100%.
lack of awareness, their lack of understanding, their assumptions. I
Yes.
have a gun when I don't even own a gun, you
Yeah.
know?
Exactly. It's man, like, and it doesn't, and I don't think people realize how it really affects other individual, inwardly. Like it really, I know for myself, even, and this is so true, even when I go like Richard to the grocery store, to the mall, out eating at fast food restaurants, if I'm getting out of my car, going to these spaces, and this is literally the truth, and I'm around, Caucasians, especially women with kids, guys with kids or
Right,
persons, I purposely will slow down, walking not at the pace I would normally walk because of my mind. Okay, I don't want them to think that I'm gonna snatch their purse because I've seen it when I will walk up, they'll clutch their purse, or
right,
I don't want them to think I'm gonna snatch their kids. They will pull their kids close to them. Like I'm just like, this is
right.
crazy to me, but it's based off my experience
Yeah,
from the stigma that is attached
yeah,
to me being a minority, you
yeah.
know.
And it's a shame that that's happening, and it's emotionally draining for you to
Hmm.
have to face that
Yeah,
in today's society when we shouldn't be
yeah,
facing this. Unfortunately, stigma is a big problem.
yes.
You know, I consider it's a public health issue that's
Mm,
affecting the mental health community.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We definitely, yeah, definitely in the mental health community. We definitely got a lot of work to do. Um, there's there's also um so as you know, there's a lot of resources out
Mhm.
here. It's I mean I know we're not going to be able to based off the social media, the public, I mean,
Right,
I feel like we have enough uh tools and resources to educate people, and I know
right.
we won't fully be there because of ignorance, a lack
Mhm.
of interest or people pride or whatever. But I feel like we do have enough where it can start with people like you and I, the local
Mhm.
agencies like
Right.
you know,
NAMI.
no, I mean, right, you're right, exactly. Turning point. Cal Void says the Department of Behavior Health and Human Services. Like, it's so many resources out
Right.
there that folks can get assistance, and folks can get education, folks can get
Hmm.
training, folks can volunteer. Like, you know, and it only takes a small group to
Hmm.
start the fire and it spread, you know.
Yes.
And that's
Yes.
one thing I like about you. About, like, since the moment I met you, just talking to you, I'm telling you, Rich, I'm like, I know, like, you have a passion to advocate for this field.
Hmm.
And we really, and let me tell you something, it's not always easy. We both know
Right.
it's not always easy. You're gonna be misunderstood, you're gonna be met
Hmm.
with resistance, you're gonna be like all of that, but
Prejudge.
yeah, but
Right.
you don't give up the fight though.
No.
You don't give up the fight. You keep going. You take that energy, keep going, because at the end of the day, you know you are making a difference in somebody's
Mhm.
life.
Yes, and for those of us that are working and have a mental health challenge, always utilize the Employee Assistance Program, commonly called EAP. Most
Yes.
employers offer this, and they
Hmm.
do offer free counseling. I believe it's up to 20 sessions.
Hmm.
Utilize that to educate yourself, to learn about your self awareness and how not to let that stigma have such a negative impact on you as an
Yes.
individual.
Yes.
Call the California Pure Warm Lines, 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Hmm.
They're run by peer persons with lived experience. Call
Yes.
the Friendship Line, that's done by Institute on Aging. It's a
Yeah.
national 800 number where they offer support. So it's for people with disabilities, caregivers, and seniors.
Yes.
Those are
Absolutely.
your two valuable, three valuable resources there for
Yes.
us to fight the stigma, to educate ourselves, to not let us bring that down.
Yes, exactly. I know Placer in Sacramento County was doing this, and you may know, and I should know this, like, really I should know this because we probably actually did a show on that. But they do some type of, I'm gonna call it event where you could go and share your lived experience.
Hmm.
Oh, I can't think of it. Yeah, it's something, and I'm gonna probably think of it when we finish the show. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's a event or something, and it's through like Placer and Sacramento County too, where you can go and share your lived experience to the
Hmm.
community and things like that. I love platforms or spaces where they allow you to share your lived experience, because
Hmm.
it does many things when you share lived
Yeah.
experience.
And that's why peer workers are valued in helping the peer community because
Yes,
we're all peers. So whether
yes,
it's online or in person, or a leadership role on the weekend, or a recreational trip on the weekend, where you learn those tools, those skills. I brought the book called Mental Health Survival Guide. It's for teens and young adults. Great activities, great lessons in there that help you about how to maintain your recovery
yeah. Okay,
as a person with lived experience. And it's by Mental Health of America.
okay,
They're the ones that published that book.
okay.
So it's a good book to use with your teenagers, with your young adults. I purposely brought it just to see whether this book will be valued, and it is valued for the mental health community. I didn't buy it just for me.
Yeah,
So, that's something I could use with the residents here that I work with, particularly the young ones, and certain activities for them to learn and new
yeah,
coping tools to
yeah.
use.
Okay. Well, Richard, we've run out of time for this first segment of the show. So I'm gonna close us out. We're gonna take a quick little break and come back in because I want to
Sure.
get back into this book, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
All right. That's it for this edition of Mental Health Matters. If you enjoyed this particular show, if you would like to be a guest on our show, or if you would like a DVD copy of our show, please dial 916-366-4600. Thank you.